Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second panel, Designing Technology. I'm super excited to introduce you to our panelists. Just a quick note beforehand, please don't take any photos or videos of this panel because we have some panelists uncomfortable with that. So thank you very much. I would like to begin if we could just all introduce ourselves.
Should we just say our names?
You can say your name, what you do, whatever you think is a good introduction.
Right. Okay. My name is Erin LeForce. I am a design director at a company called Work & Co. We're based out of Brooklyn, but we have several offices around the globe. And I design products for people to use. We design from with small startups all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. And we do some work for free if we feel like it. So that's me in a nutshell.
It's exciting. So hello everyone, I'm Ziyuan, but you can call me Zoey. I'm currently a software designer based in SF. I just flew here, like enjoying the weather. It's really nice. And I'm mainly doing emerging technology and sustainability and how to use the emerging technology tools to help to form the social impact. Yes, nice to meet you all.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're so excited to have you. For our first question, I'd like to ask you guys, what inspired you to pursue a career in digital design, and what do you find most fulfilling about it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit or a short story from me. Actually, I was directed like more by like my education path and also my passion. Because actually before that, I was an architect. I was studying like both in China and Germany for 5 years for architecture degree. And after that, I feel like, okay, I want to combine something with architecture degree, but I don't know where I go. So I take another path. I apply for a graduate school. And I was like sneaking in this kind of a situation, was doing a lot of architecture and interactive space design. And then I started applying for a degree from computer science. So that's just a little bit detour from my before path. And I started doing like the work with, because I was graduate from MIT, so I was doing a bunch of works with Media Lab, and we have a lab called MIT Sensible City Lab, so it do like a bunch of digital design. So when I applied for IDEO, like they told me like, oh, you have a mixed background, so why not do like some creative technology things? So I was choosing this path to be an individual who like kind of squeeze myself into the path of like both interactive space and kind of product design. So then I was like going further in this way. So kind of like for myself, like based on the projects I was doing and also my passion towards it. Yeah, thank you.
Nice. My path is a little bit different. I studied graphic design at school, and I was an illustration major. And I kind of started to move away from that during my schooling, but ultimately when I moved out to the city, I needed to pay rent, and there was one internship that hired me on the spot and was going to pay, so I took it, and it happened to be at a digital agency, and I loved the work. I was just kind of blown away by how, it was very different from illustration, but it was also just a ton of fun. I loved watching people use things. We tested with people a lot. I was fortunate to be at a place where user testing was really important to their practice. And I just thought it was the coolest thing to be able to work on stuff with a group of people, talk about it, try stuff out, put it out in the world, see what people were doing, and then make improvements and continue to evolve the work. So.
Sounds like a lot of different ways to get into digital designs. That's really cool to see all these different ways, and it kind of shows that you can kind of come from any direction. So the next question I have is, can you guys share a specific project you've worked on that you believe is particularly representative of your approach to design and technology, and what you learned from the experience?
I'll go first. Okay. I think this is a great question. I mentioned in my intro that Work & Co. is a product design company, so we make things that people use in kind of simple terms. I worked on IKEA.com, so the e-commerce website. We've been partnered with IKEA to work on all of their digital touch points. So I came after the team had worked on the app. The shoppable app is wonderful, my favorite of our deliverables that we gave to them. But yeah, so we worked on the e-commerce platform for them. And what made it so kind of like evocative of process and all of this was just that, I think show of hands, we've all been to an IKEA, right? We're all familiar. It's a very unique experience to be in one of those stores, different than other e-commerce, or stores, like real stores, not digital stores. But anyways, so going there and experiencing it became essential to be able to give them something that would be truly unique to them and speak to their philosophy on how they outfit homes. And so we kind of came at it from the angle of recreating the showroom in the digital space. So if you go to the website, on the homepage, it's a bunch of in situ images of their products being used by real people in real homes. It feels really warm and lived in, and that's the experience you have when you go through the showroom. It's almost like someone's walked away from the room and left everything behind for you to be able to shop and enjoy. And then as you go through that shopping funnel and get closer and closer to that moment of checkout, things become a lot more tactical, a lot more, we're putting product placement in, we're helping you pair things and complete your space or give you those essential recommendations. Like if you've ever bought a lamp, you need a specific light bulb or else the lamp's totally useless. So making sure that we're pairing up those products in smart ways so people can kind of seamlessly get what they need. And so when we are thinking about these sites and designing for these clients, it's really understanding their business and kind of getting as immersed as we can in what they do so that we can create something that feels useful and right for their brand. So I don't know, that's the best example I have was getting to work on that and make sure that we were doing right by our lovely friends over there.
Yeah, I would definitely to say that a lot of technology happening in retail space. Example I will share is also related to one project I recently just did. So we actually did a prototype in New York City, but I couldn't share the client name, but it's more like a high-end makeup product store design. So our approach is actually we build a prototype store there, and we want to test how people really approach the stores and buy things and entire user flow. So when we're designing this, we start the project with technology elements, not at all. So we start to observe people, go to the shop, follow people to observe them, what they're doing. So actually we find that when people are going to the store, they actually take their phones out, sometimes, when they check the things also on their app to compare the price with Amazon. This is, I guess, some of you probably did that before. It's when I go to a store, I want to check out the price, which is lower than the price in the shop. So compare the different users' behavior. Actually, at the middle point of the project, we're deciding to use technology, how we embed the digital experience into the store design. So then we test multiple technology. So that's why also the reason I joined the project, because we in IDEO we have very small team. So for example, our environmental design who design the shop experience, the environmental experience, and also industrial design who design the shelf and how people approach it and also select the product. And probably there's a visual communication designer that kind of select the product and also the branding of it. So I'm a software design position. I joined the project because they want something to be digital and to be digital tangibilized product. So I joined the team and we designed kind of NFC touch point and the QR code, and it kind of be embedded in the store when we prototype the store. So we kind of spend 1 week to build up the store with the foam core, and then observe people how they did it, how they take their phone. Or some people may not want to take their phone, and maybe they want to have some touch screen. So we did a bunch of experiment with prototyping. That's probably a best example for technology combination with digital and physical, kind of digital physical intersection. Yeah, so this is a project I can share, and some of our approach of kind of touching the digital touch point of the design.
Very cool. It sounds like a lot of these different projects have to do with really connecting with a human center and having a focus on people and the customer or whatever. So I was curious, how do you guys prioritize user experience or communication, a human-centered focus in your designs? And how do you approach designing experiences that are accessible and inclusive for all?
Yeah, I think this time I can start first. Yeah, it's actually a really good question about human-centric design. So kind of I would like to say our approach is design research, because this is a really important part, kind of come across of entire our project. So normally when we like have a project in, we're gonna do like 2 or 3 weeks design research. This is kind of include all the designers in the team. For example, I have recently have a project in which we designed the loyalty program for a department store. So the approach of us, we went to different location of this department store just to observe people, how they behave. So just as what we said, like a last example is how people behave, like to see like how they react. Because when we talk about design thinking and human-centric design, it's more about what people really did, but not like what they really said. So when we observe people, what they're really doing, you saw like they behave in different ways. And I would like to say like really like do train your design research like point of view and also your training skills and to try to observe people around you when you're doing the design research, like design project, like rather than just focus on the solution. So this is normally what we did like about human-centric design. I'm not sure if I answered your question clearly.
Definitely.
But yeah.
Yeah. So the nature of the work I do is very client-based. We're technically consultants, so we're engaged with our clients for a period of time. And as a result, it becomes very, very critical that we test everything we do, because the last thing we want to do is spend our clients' money and come out with something that isn't usable and they can't actually maintain or call effective. So part of our process is just like kind of focused around all the user testing that we do. So we have kind of from a design perspective, we have 2 phases of our project work. The first is concepting, where we come up with ideas. Our ideas are not written on paper. We do not have Post-its in our office. So we prototype everything. We build out, we sketch, and then we get something in a state that's functional that people can tap on and interact with. And we present that to our clients. They give us their expertise on the business and what their end users are looking for, what their goals are. And then we test it with actual users. And we call that our concept validation. Everything that passes concept validation, that tests well, we bring into detailed design, and that's what forms our final product and our final output. And even in that phase of work, we will test features. So if we have a way of filtering products, and we have a couple different ways that we want to approach that, we'll bring in another set of users and run another test and pick the most effective route. I think the other thing we keep in mind as well is something that Phil mentioned is that people will use things in unexpected ways. So the other kind of challenge that we balance is how to create a foundation for our products to be able to evolve. So we don't kind of like set strict parameters so that users can't make it something on their own, that they can't use it in the different ways in which they might need to use something. And there's no one way within a product to accomplish the goals that they need to accomplish. So there's multiple ways you can narrow down a product on an e-commerce site, or you can find information on an editorial site, or whatever that product you're outputting. There's many ways in which you can use it, and the users can make it their own. But always user testing, and don't just talk to other designers. It's talking to people who might be very, very different from yourself, and making sure that the product you're creating is truly for everyone, because of who you've outreached and how you've listened and observed.
It's really great to hear all these human-centered approaches, whether it's like in the user experience side for like a customer, or for more like the community side of editorial. So it's cool to see how it's applied in different areas of design. My next question, kind of building off of that, how do you measure the success of a design project, and what metrics do you use to evaluate its impact?
I feel it's a very interesting question to assess impact, because sometimes it's very hard for us like to really like get a quantitative research like result on it, because we're like mainly based on like clients' work. And sometimes clients find us to do like futuring work, which is like 50 years, 30 years in the future, and how to see their strategy change their like own product design. So I would like to say from 2 perspectives. One is like the clients find us to do the futuring job. So recently we have a very fun news. It's like almost 20 years ago, we designed something about like the future of video, like streaming video, and actually it's in the format of like Netflix we saw like today. So we saw these things actually affect the entire industry, like how they form the like current stream video. So that is one thing like we can actually observe in the society change sometimes. And also another one is like Apple Mouse. So it's something like we just like make fun inside of IDEO, like to say that, oh, we change the society, but yeah, it's just a joke from our like own point of view. And another one is actually like clients, the real impact on the people we're designing with. So for example, this job is, this kind of like work is actually like social impact driven, that we really can see like clients reflect to us and actually contact us maybe after 5 to 10 years to give us the feedback that, oh, we really can realize the project you're doing, because sometimes as a design consulting, we couldn't really control the result when we deliver to the clients. We didn't know that what's gonna happen on it, but we know that we want to kind of deliver a really like good social impact. Because sometimes there are almost like 20 to 40% of clients reach us out to reflect back, and we're gonna also do the following up with them, like to see how product evolve, or do they have to follow up work with us. So I would like to say like one is from like the design like industry point of view, and another one is like follow-ups with the clients of the work. If you are doing design, we kind of like do these two things inside of IDEO.
Nice. Ours is a little bit different. We are often, when we engage with clients, given a set of what we term KPIs, which just stands for key performance indicators. So often we're given almost like a laundry list. Like it's like being on House Hunters, where it's like they want, you know, the farm sink, they want the crown molding. You know, it's like they want to boost their conversion rates, they want to increase their profits. You know, so we have things that are measurable that we're trying to attain for our clients. Because we work as a consultancy, we give them a product and then they measure that impact themselves. And there have been instances, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Sometimes they come back to us and they're like, this isn't working. And we initiate, you know, what we would term like a phase 2, or we recontract and we'll make some improvements. It's never, it's very uncommon that this happens because we do test so often. That, you know, we're able to kind of use past experience. We build, our partners are very experienced in design. They've been doing this since the 1990s, some of them. So we have a really firm foundation and things that work, things that will make these, you know, wish lists of our clients come to life. And then if they don't, you know, we come back and we try again, and we continue to iterate and improve on what we've done in the past. But yeah, it's kind of a moving target, but we do our very best.
It's great to hear. Zoey, you mentioned social impact as one of your metrics of success. I was wondering if you or the other panelists can share an example of a time where you've used design to create social impact.
Yeah, actually, I can start first. Because recently, like inside of IDEO, there's some change happened actually. Before, we have 6 domains which focus on like money, kind of commercial product design, and food. Like there are 6, like it's all listed on the website. But recently, we added a new domain called climate error, to mainly focus on the climate impact of the society and the client work we're doing. So now when we deliver a client project, we're gonna definitely add some clients related project on it. We calculate a carbon footprint on it. And the recent project I'm doing, it's a loyalty program design. So when we deliver the product to the clients, we assess the kind of carbon footprint we do during the entire delivery. Like process. For example, our designer travel to different location to deliver the product, and also do the research, and we will calculate the footprint through the process. And also we do like production design, product book, and digital process. So we're gonna all like calculate it and deliver to the clients to let them to see the impact. So actually now there's an embedded process inside every client project to evaluate the climate impact in it. And I think it's a very important part in the future of our work, especially in like physical product design deliverable. Yeah, so like to say like sustainability is definitely a part we are mainly focused on, and how we use emerging technology to assess it and to make it more accessible to the clients and more educational to our clients is something we are mainly focused on. Yeah, in this year.
So I can speak from the point of view of the pro bono work that we do at Work & Co. We often, I think we're a company that is very eager to make an impact on the world, and I think just any designer in general likes to leave their mark. And so we do a lot of work that's for nonprofits or with partners that are working very hard to make social change. We've partnered with Planned Parenthood for several projects. One of the projects that my colleagues worked on was a chatbot called Rue, that young people could ask questions and receive anonymous, or ask questions anonymously and receive informed information for any of the questions that they might have that they may not have a grown-up in their life that they can go to. And so these are the types of projects that people are kind of chomping at the bit to be a part of. It's actually kind of competitive to get staffed on one of these. We've also done some work with Woke Vote that helped give people awareness of where in their areas they can vote, when, and make sure that anybody who's eligible to vote can have their voice heard. And we've done some work when the pandemic happened to quickly put out some useful products to help support any sort of essential healthcare workers to be able to get groceries and childcare and all the things that they might be able to find difficult to do while they were working. And we've done some work with Vistaprint to bring awareness. They've got some employees in Ukraine, so we created a communication, a part of their website, so that they could keep people informed on the messages that they wanted to have that surround their brand and who they are and what they represent. So we do anything and everything we can to make the world the place we want it to be, and to support the people we know may not be getting the most support and maybe need it the most. But yeah.
It's really cool to hear all the ways design can have such an impact on so many areas of the world. The next question I have is relating back to our theme of the conference, which is synergy. All of you guys have worked across a wide variety of fields. So Zoey, you work at the intersection of design, emerging technology, education, sustainability. Phil, you worked in fields ranging from editorial to advertising to technology and social media. And Erin, your work intersects digital design and human behavior. How do you all find synergy in these intersections, and how does this influence your work?
I kind of super agree and resonated with what Philly said. And also I feel like synergy is more about collaborative work and co-creation, like how we can engage community and really do the work. And also I feel like synergy is the change, you mentioned about change, like how it could be embedded in different perspective and make the change of different fields. So just you mentioned about like I'm working in the industry, like different perspective, emerging technology and sustainability education, and how we create the synergy out of all this like different fields. It's to do the co-creation, to work with people from different perspective and create this T-shape of yourself. And another fun fact, actually inside of IDEO and all my colleagues, like actually we bring our own like perspective and own like side work into the company to make this synergy happen. For example, from my own perspective or my own like side work, I was doing a sustainability education platform actually with a music band from London. So that one actually become a part of my work because I was constantly working with them on an AR installation that teach people how to do sustainability in the music events. This is actually what I shared with Design Nation before in a podcast. And in that project, I set up some POV in terms of like how we use education to kind of advocate and encourage people to do more like sustainability action and campaign inside of the music events community itself. Because every time like when you when we approach a label, there's some community has been established inside of the label and the music band, like they call it family. So how we use the different approach like to make this co-creation and collaborative action happen is something that we also can bring inside of Ideal's work. Like recently we have like client work, meaning focus on like climate change, on like how to build the next generation of the park in a Texas city. So with that kind of insights from the music events I was doing, I bring these insights to it and make the change and bring my own perspective and also my skill set into the projects we're doing. Yeah, and also other clients, they're from like craft, they have their own like company focused on the carbon footprint calculation, so they bring their like own skill set and own ability into it, which is like something you kind of add ingredients into the work inside of a company and bring your own skill set of the company to make this co-creation and the collaborative moment happen.
Yeah, I want to build on that. I think one thing that drew me to Work & Co. is, and you'll hear like a term of like a flat hierarchy, and I think that's fake. That's not a real thing. But I do think that it's, of all the places I've worked, the best implementation of this idea that everybody's ideas and inputs are important and matter and should be shared no matter what their position is. Our partners all are part of the design process. There isn't like a design executive position that is just talking about design. Everybody is doing. And when we think about the work that we do and that it is for human beings, we are very heavily influenced by design of the past. Like we do a lot of work that really kind of mirrors the work of Massimo Vanelli and the bold human aspect of that, just not the visuals, but also just the accessibility of the work that's being done, the communication that's happening there. Almost every single employee at Work & Co. probably has at least one either authentic or inspired by Eames item in their home or some a furniture brand that's really thought about the ergonomics or the shape of something and how it holds the human form or what it does to improve an environment. So living and breathing this idea that we're surrounding ourselves by ideas that are human-centric, and then being just good human beings ourselves. So listening to each other, communicating, building each other up as often as we can, lending help. I've always thought that Work & Co., if you go to the website, it looks like we're a bunch of stark, designy, it doesn't seem like it's very friendly, but it's actually I've never worked at a place where everybody is dropped anything to be hey, what do you need? What do you need help, whether professional or emotional? So I think when you're in an environment that cares about human beings and you're surrounded by people who, from a design standpoint, are really thinking about how someone is interacting, I think no matter what, you will come together with the synergy of something that just starts to feel really positive and good and useful, which is the ultimate goal, right? Yeah.
It's great to hear. Shifting specifically to the field of design and technology, I was wondering how you guys approach staying up to date on emerging technologies or trends in the field and incorporating them into your work, while also maintaining a critical perspective on their potential impacts and limitations.
I haven't gone first in a while, so. Sorry. So in terms of the staying up to date, I'm a religious listener of podcasts. So that's where I get all of my information. I follow a few that I check in on every week, and then others that I'll kind of come in and out of. But I find that those, I don't know, maybe it's just my age, but I like just being told stories, and it feels easy to kind of keep up to date with things that are happening. So one that I actually really like that's been fun to listen to is the Hard Fork that New York Times does, and they're just kind of couple of geeks that talk about all the things going on in the world. I think they also kind of take a little bit more of a critical approach to what is happening, which I always really appreciate. It's no longer a thing, but Reply All was where I was getting my technological insight prior to that, but that one has since come to an end. But all that's to say, I think just kind of like keeping an ear to the ground is we live in a world that's fascinated by technology, and so no matter what, I'd be surprised if you hadn't heard about ChatGPT. I don't know what rock you would be living under if you hadn't. So, but a lot of what we do is just kind of watching and listening. In terms of putting it into our work, we have some projects. I've talked about Project Rue. The chatbot, and that was something that Planned Parenthood came to us, and they wanted us to innovate on something, a product. They didn't quite know what it would be, but that would help young people and would give them critical information for their physical and emotional health. And so that was at a time when machine learning was kind of new and wasn't something that a lot of people had implemented. So there weren't a ton of examples. Again, our tried and true user testing kind of led us in a really responsible way. But ultimately, that's kind of a gift when a client comes to us and is like, hey, we don't know what we want or what it looks like, but we know we want it and we want you to do it. Here's a bunch of money to do it with. So that's kind of, that's the dream. The reality is also that we have clients, one Practicing Law Institute, which actually has launched, but we're going to start promoting here in the next coming weeks. So really excited about that one. But if you're a lawyer needing your professional credits, you can look no further than PLI. But they are, an institution. They've been around for actual decades. And pioneering in the world of law education, but they've started and their platform is old, and so they came to us and we had a ton of really, really cool, innovative ideas on how they could use technology to create personalization and do all this really wonderful kind of back-end solutioning for lawyers that are busy and don't have the time to think about the credit hours they need to achieve. So let's just hand it to them in a playlist, and they can just press play and they've got all their credits. Well, the reality is they didn't have the platform to support that. So we kind of take it back and we say, okay, then how can we get you there step by step? And so a lot of times what it looks like to be technologically advanced is just a firm foundation, is something that can be built on, that you can start to train users to recognize that things are being shaped by their interaction with the product, and that then primes them to be ready for something that's a little bit more predictive or a little bit more clever and working for them in a way that's more technologically advanced than just, hey, if you watch this, we're going to tag it and we'll pass it along, through the more traditional technology ways.
Yeah, one thing I feel really resonated was what you mentioned, Erin. It's about really keep you self-updated with the podcast and also the information you received. I personally subscribe several newsletter. Every morning I set up a ritual, read it all through and kind of get key information and also share some among the community. Because inside of IDEO, we actually have a bunch of different community focused on emerging technology, generative AI, ChatGPT. I literally just check how to be not nervous on the stage at this point before I come here. Yeah, because I have to get a panelist for a while. So definitely take advantage of this, but also keep in mind that, because we mentioned about emerging technology, as it was said, the emergent, you never didn't really know, because it's always growing, it's always iterating. Emerging technology always need to take a kind of critical point of view on it. For example, we need to take care of ethical issues. Recently in IDEO, we're starting a generative AI decision tree that I'm a part of the leadership of it. We're building a tool that helps the employee to navigate themselves into emerging technology and the way they're using the generative AI in the design process. Because some of you might use DALL-E or ChatGPT to write your thesis, maybe. Sometimes people did that. And we're using this tool to synthesize of some of our interview results or some of our point of view, and we do the summarize of it. But it might face some ethical issues. For example, people be generated in the DALL-E 2 and Midjourney may have some research issues that happened around. So definitely keep an eye on it and be more proactive in terms of ethical issues in this tech domain is very important, and you always need to keep in mind because I mentioned emergent technology. And another thing is build a community of yourself, like try to get information from the future perspective. So actually inside of IDEO is a practice that we make kind of like friend circle to share the knowledge that we read about. So we did like synthesize like every day, and it's the best practice of us just like form like 3 to 5 people who is interested in the topic and share with each other, and then form the small workshop and share back to the entire community. So this is actually the thing that, yeah, we have like so many Design Nation attendees, so actually you can form like small community in the future, maybe share the information and then share back to the community. You can be a teacher yourself and can learn something new. That's the thing that keep you self-updated and also like to share the knowledge to the community like you are surrounded by.
So as we begin to wrap up, before I open up to attendee questions, I was just wondering what advice you guys would give to young designers looking to explore the intersection of design and technology.
Advice is hard. I mean, I think we've said a lot around like looking around and being a part of the world. I think when it comes to technology, it's easy to think that you can just stay at your desk or inside your computer and just kind of move around. But the biggest insights you'll get are when you kind of leave that space and find where you can truly kind of expand and observe. I mean, my experience is in product design and we work with companies. And so whenever I can, it's leaving my office, my home, which is now my office, and going and trying to experience as much of that thing as possible. So I'm currently working with a golf company, and so it's like I know nothing about golf, but I have driven past the golf course and I've gone to the store and I've asked ChatGPT a bunch of stuff about golf. So I'm doing everything I can to understand who it is that I'm designing for. What their motivations are and all of this. And I think, and no matter anything you're trying to get experience in or understand, just going and then talking to people, asking, observing, watching, being, I think that's a huge part of just being a designer. No matter what you're designing, it's problem solving, and you're not going to understand the problem if you just look at static things or go to Pinterest and look at what looks nice or is what trending. But yeah.
I super resonated with you again, like ChatGPT. It's going to be a cliche that I would like to say be a T-shaped person. That we always say like in the graduate school or in the companies, like how to be like T-shaped, like to expand your like knowledge base and then deep your kind of a skill set. So like actually after we have ChatGPT, we have more ability to be a like horizontal expanded T. And the things you should like really focus on is like how to deepen your knowledge and also to outreach the people, like Erin mentioned about like to reach out to us probably and reach out to the people around you. They will be your inspiration resources, and also you can make friendship and like meet collaborator in the conference. This is what I like did like bunch of times. I made my first like music label project after conference, and I have like long-term collaboration with them, like to be like producer in the music events, and just to be broad to like be brave to like be broad to open to the world and do the things you're really passionate about, and also like try to create your own community. It can be like silver friends, and you can like share the knowledge. Because I definitely like believe one point is that make other success. It's successful is actually make yourself successful. It's like to support others, to share knowledge. It's something that I really believe as a designer, you should be more open and be like more collaborative. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys for all the advice. Now we'd like to open up to attendee questions. It sounds like we can read some out. If you guys want to submit through the link from earlier, go ahead.
Yeah. So as you said, if you guys want to ask any questions, make sure to submit them on the Slido. So the first question would be, so as we were talking about synergy and kind of creating harmony with lots of moving parts and coordinating with lots of different types of people, this first question is about how you guys go about collaborating with global teams and offices on different projects.
I can speak to this. when I worked on IKEA, we worked with people that were in San Francisco and people that were in Denmark and New York. And so 3 different time zones, and it was a lot of struggle in just finding time to all be together. So I've also worked in, every office I've worked in has had a global presence, has had offices in different time zones and in different areas of the world. And it's essential, the tools we use. I think things are just getting smarter and better. Figma, I was talking before this about Figma, but I love it. It's so, it's cloud-based designing. You can see when everybody's in the file. You can kind of, we call them little like Figma sessions where we all come together at the same time and are like, little blizzards of mice moving around with names attached to them and kind of figuring out what we should do. So I think tools play a really big role, but then also just prioritizing time together. And I think, for the IKEA project, we ended up moving everybody for 3 months to Denmark. And so we were there together and designing and working and collaborating. And that gave us kind of a new language to talk to each other when we went away. So we could then kind of, you picture the inflection in someone's voice when they're chatting something across Slack, and it kind of transforms that conversation even if you're away. But I know that can be hard to do now, especially with the pandemic and all the impact of that. But as much as possible, trying to just get some, even if over Zoom, just one-on-one time. I do that all the time with my teammates. If I'm having trouble communicating something, immediately it's like Zoom link, and we will spend the time we need to work together.
I feel like Erin already said the things I want to say. Like, the tour is very important. And another thing to add on, like maybe from my own experience, be transparent and be more human. So be transparent is like inform your colleagues and your teammates what you're doing. So when like we also have the team like from different locations, like we have a San Francisco, Cambridge, and Chicago office, and also the colleagues from Tokyo, European office like London and Munich. So how we coordinate time and respect each other's time is very important. So normally we have one thing called pre-flight. So everybody was coordinated with their time. Are you okay with booking the time in this specific time zone? This is very important, like to respect others' time. And another thing is be human. It's like, cause everybody is a human being, and we have one thing called ritual, like weekly ritual. So everybody gonna get together to do like spiritual training and meditate together. Just seeing like we also call togetherness and how to respect others, to say thank you, gratitude word to others. It's some like practice we're currently doing, and also like different team have their approach. Like we're doing like meditation, like for like weekly meditation, or everybody get together to get food experience, because we're designing the experience that as a human, we need to really experience the things we're designing. So like just to be like transparent and be human and experience the things and coordinate the people and respect each other. Yeah.
And it's interesting that, Erin, you mentioned Figma, Phil, you mentioned Zoom. And there was a previous question that talked about emerging technologies and how do you guys go about staying up to date and understanding their limitations. We have another question that is more so once you've understood a new technology, its limitations, how do you go about deciding what to incorporate into your workflow and your design process? How do you make that decision?
That, and then I'm only going to add that I think as humans, we're naturally curious. So, following those curiosities, like our company used Sketch, and then we transitioned to Figma, and it really came from a group of people that were curious about Figma, and their team agreed to work on Figma for a project. And then they were kind of accolades of like, oh man, this is so cool, we can collaborate, we can do all this stuff, things update in real time. And so then it became, then another project team was like, yeah, we want to use Figma. And so I think, the tools will change and shift, and I think being curious and getting, together and saying like, hey, like let's try this one out. I think that kind of, it'll happen somewhat organically. It's not anything to feel like, oh, I'm not using this, therefore I'm not up to date or I'm not current. It's just whatever works in your process, and if there's kind of critical mass of interest, then it's like, cool, let's do it, let's try it. And so.
I'm just gonna keep it short because you two already like covered all of it. And I think like don't use technology for technology's sake, because sometimes, just as Erin said, we want to keep updated with the emerging technology, but it's sometimes not necessary. Like we want to use XR to design cool experience, but probably we just use very like low tech tool to design it. So like keep yourself updated, but also like keep in mind that you might not need it, but if you can use it to like make a better experience and be more humanized, definitely use it to learn it more.
Amazing. I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you guys so much for coming and sharing all your knowledge. We've all learned so much. If we could give a round of applause for speakers.